Good evening, Googlers. My name is Georgina Dean, and I am the leader of GEG Aman. Welcome to Techie Tip Tuesday, episode 2 of season 2. So, really excited. Nice to see Dina joining today as well, all the way from Cairo, Egypt. Hi, Dina. Lovely of you to join all the way across time zones today. And for those viewers who are joining in after the fact, please let us know where you are joining from and your Twitter handle. And let me know what you hear in the background. So it's all about online engagement. Today are the techie tips for this Tuesday episode. And we'll get started. So here is the agenda. I'm just going to drop that in the chat so that you can join me live as well. And you might be able to see it. It's always linked into the slide deck in the speaker notes as well as the Google Classroom icon. So here's your deck. There we go. So you guys are welcome to join live on the deck. So basically, just in case this is your first time joining Tip Tuesdays, they have a new flavor this season. So last season, we started in I believe the second quarter with Tip Tuesdays, and it was supposed to be a bi-weekly event. And then COVID joined us. And we felt we wanted to be a bigger support for everybody who was transitioning into distance and online learning. So what we did was we ran Tip Tuesday every week. And so now what we are going to do this season is we're basically going to run Tip Tuesday every second week. So those are more tech related things to help you with your online learning or blended learning strategies, depending on where you're or how your school is currently set up. And then every other Tuesday, so after Tip Tuesday, the second Tuesday after that will be Tip Tuesday together. So we'll be doing, it's more of a community piece where we'll be interviewing and chatting with other Googlers, both locally and around the world, to get some insights as to how they're currently handling the new normal and things that are supporting them. So really excited to bring you guys the second episode of Techie Tip Tuesday, all about online learning engagement. So just going to check, Dina, are you able to grab let me know in the chat if you're able to grab the slide deck. I'll just type it one more time in case. You may be joining from your mobile phone or device though, so it could be that you're not able to grab it. But basically it's as you see there in the speaker notes. There we go. Awesome. So it's working. Brilliant. You never know with those Lee links, right? So always good to check some people can join in. Awesome. So without further ado, it's always just a 30-minute session to give you guys some awesome strategies, tech tips, and the best of pedagogy possible so you can give your students the best. So basically the first, we're not going to go through the entire list, but this first piece here on the top, what's new from Google, are just some really awesome things that you could use to engage your students with during this current period. So there's a new digital well-being guide for families that was just released I believe last week, and so that well-being guide is there. You can click on it to go and see for yourselves in support of World Mental Health Day that just passed. And there's a new one that just came out now called from Be Internet Awesome. And so if you click on it, it's a little crossword puzzle for It's Cool to Be Kind. So when you click on the link, it will give you your own personal copy. So you'll be able to grab that and reuse that inside your classes. So all about kindness. What do we do if we see bullying? How can we support each other? Like, so if you're doing this with your students, how can the students support each other? How can you be positive and safe when you are online? So all about being an awesome digital citizen. So this crossword puzzle is there, brought to you by Google for Education. So this resource is there for you. And The other thing that I thought we could do together, Dina says she's about to eat, so maybe she will not be able to join us on the jam, but I would like to share this and have everybody, while we're going through today's different online learning strategies, to join me on this jam board. And I'm going to drop the jam board link here in the chat for you guys. There you go. And if you'd like to join me on the Jamboard, I would love for us to walk away with a collaborative piece at the end of all kinds of success stories. Could be screenshots of things that worked well, could be strategies that you've seen. Maybe you attended a conference or a webinar, or maybe you just team taught, or you were chatting with your colleagues and something awesome came up. So grab a slide on the Jamboard. You can click on the arrow to the right to add a new slide, and feel free to decorate it as you like. And then we'd love to create an ongoing resource for this week until the following Tip Tuesday, so that people can add to the Jamboard and we can fill our resource bucket, because better together is always awesome. So go ahead, and I'm going to leave that open for you guys to create during the show, and I'm going to loop back at the end so that we can share and spread some googly goodies all together. Very exciting. Okay, so the other things that are in there, there's an Edu on Air webinar that's coming up on the 14th, which is tomorrow, which is why I wanted to share that today, just so you guys don't miss it. So when you click on it, it's going to bring you here where you can register, getting involved with different Google for Education programs and communities. So this week from Google for Education is all about the different communities. So how to become a Google certified trainer, how to become a Google certified innovator, how to become a Google coach, how to become Google certified educator level 1 or level 2. So there's lots of goodies in there, and it will be hosted by our amazingly inspiring Googlers, Amanda Del Balso, who runs the Google Coach program, and our also wonderful GEG and Google Trainer Program owner, May Ju. And so you definitely don't want to miss that. We have some awesome global GEG friends, Jared and Luis, also in the show, sharing their adventures, and also my Google Innovator colleague Luke, and also Kanokali. So definitely you want to not miss that event tomorrow. So one day, 6 hours and 42 minutes. So you can click the register button there. All right, so a couple other goodies that we threw in there, connecting with GEGs. So I basically left, there we go, I left that one open, wanted to celebrate all of the awesome Grow with Google across the country, and let you guys know that GEG Aman is not the only GEG out there. And I think sometimes we often forget, because it's really obviously amazing, the GEG Aman community that we have here, and we just have so much to celebrate since the last year. It's actually coming up to our 1-year anniversary in 4 days. On October 17th marks our 1-year anniversary, so stay tuned for some treats in 4 days' time. I don't want to give everything away, but stay tuned for that. But this page here is to celebrate the other GEGs. And so the beautiful thing about Google is well, there's so many beautiful things, but basically this whole idea of Grow with Google is actually a big global idea. And as you can see from this map from the Google for Education Teacher Center, we really are growing globally. And so shout out to my awesome colleagues at Global GEG. I know Dina also connects with them and attended one of our boot camps this summer. So shout out to Global GEG. If you'd like to connect with them, you'll find a lot of other GEG leaders like me, who are participating in Grow with Google and sharing all kinds of googly goodies all the time. So check them out at globaljeg.org. Yes, Dina, time certainly has flown by. 1 year. it flies by when you're having fun, right? I think that's the saying. So yeah. But basically, guys, I want to say, like, connect with the other GEGs. The way that we are going to learn and grow together, not just with Google, but as educators, as passionate ed tech leaders, we want to change the world of education, right? And the best way to do that is collaboratively grow your professional learning network and be with like-minded people who want to move education forward. So definitely connect with different GEGs. You can click on any of these little blue dots anywhere, and it will tell you where the GEGs are. So for example, there's 2 in Nigeria, and if you click on GEG Dutsa, for example, it will take you to their landing page where you can connect with them. So shout out to Abdul, who is the leader of GEG Dutsa in Nigeria. And so yeah, I would totally recommend, because sometimes I can't tell you how many times actually that I have attended a GEG UK session, for example, and picked up some new tricks, or GEG SOFLA. So shout out to Robin. I attend theirs quite often and pick up new googly tricks as well. So guys, head on over to the GEG landing page and connect with other GEGs. Follow them, join their communities, and it's all about growing with Google together globally. So definitely connect there. Okay, now, the following is all about online learning engagement. So this is actually going to be an interactive session, guys. So I hope you're ready. I know Dina says she's about to eat, so that may not work for Dina, but I know that there's other people in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. Drop your Twitter handle, and definitely you want to connect with Dina, because she is a superstar ed tech Googler all the way from Cairo, and you guys will definitely learn a lot from her. So definitely shout out in the chat where you're joining from. Yes, she says different people, different places. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so we are going to do a collaborative activity together. I'm going to share some tips and tricks that have been working well for me in online learning engagement. So I hear a lot from different communities and different educators and leaders that it's really difficult for them to engage their students in online learning from day to day. So we're actually going to do a couple of activities that you're going to be able to try with your students. And please remember that the Jamboard is there. I'm just going to swap on over. And so please feel free to share also your favorite tips and tricks of how you are engaging your online learners as well, because sharing is caring, and that is how we are going to build the best online practices in this new normal. Okay, so the first thing I want to shout out is the music that you guys heard when we entered the space. I cannot tell you how much engagement has risen this year just because I actually had music playing in my lessons. You're able to engage with your students, and you're able to get them talking about their favorite musics, their favorite playlists. They might even actually suggest what they'd like to hear in the lessons. I always ask them, are you guys feeling this? Are you guys vibing the tunes? One lesson I had a student say, oh, this isn't working for me, can you turn it off? And so all students are different, and you need to feel it. But if you engage them and give them the choice of what they would like to listen to, obviously appropriate for education, then you're going to get a really big buy-in. So I've gone ahead at the end of this list here. Number 3 on the agenda is the audio library, which has a bunch of royalty-free, so you don't have to worry about copyright, royalty-free music that you'll be able to play. So for example, there are no copyright music, and it will tell you exactly what you can and can't use. So that's a really nice one to have. I play a lot of music from there in my lessons. And then also is the YouTube studio. So for content creators, like for myself, okay, I'm just going to cancel that. That's right, because this is my trainer domain, so I'm not going to go there. But if you click on your YouTube Studio link at the bottom of this agenda and you are signed into your Google account, it will take you to your YouTube Studio directly, and it will give you a bunch of songs that you can actually download, and it will tell you if you click on it if it's Common Creative licensed or not. So this is how I'm actually playing the music in my current show. Hi Ahmed, nice of you to join us. Ahmed's joining all the way from the Maldives. Superstar Ahmed. So if you are joining. Make sure you connect with Ahmed and Dina, a great mix internationally tonight. So that's super duper. So yeah, Ahmed, I'm going to drop again the link for you. It's just at the bottom of the slide deck there, but I'm going to drop it in the YouTube chat so you can grab a copy of that. And it's got all kinds of goodies and links in there to help you out. The sections from E to H in the first one are the next ones here. EFG, sorry. These are some Google Education Innovators superstars who did a couple of 20-minute sessions for something that they call Spark Camp Saturday. And so I also gave a session. Mine was on creativity, though, not on online engagement, so it's not listed there. But these three superstars, Ben Cogswell, so I've listed his contact there if you'd like to connect, and Isabella, and also my friend Al Thomas, shout out to him from America. So some different time zones in there, have created 3 short 20-minute videos that you can watch as professional learning to see some other tips and tricks that you can use to engage your students when you're on the lessons with them. So we're going to do the first one together. I realize this is not a Google Meet, so you guys won't actually be able to interact with me, but what I am going to do is I'm going to ask you to participate. If you have pen and paper with you, if you don't have pen and paper and you would like to use the Jamboard, then feel free to grab a slide on the Jamboard to do it. But we're basically going to do something that I found has been working really well, and it is to draw. So I have my iPad and my Apple Pencil, and I'm going to open up a brand new whiteboard here, and we're actually going to take the tip and trick that I learned from Isabella in this video. So she's got a whole bunch listed there, and one of the ones that she says is when you're doing check-ins with students, you can ask them to show you how they're feeling. And so I know that it's a little bit tricky right now with students showing their camera, and there's a lot of different viewpoints from different educators around the world. You know, that question is in the air. Do we think that students should have to show their camera when they're in online learning, or should they not have to? So go ahead and let me know in the chat which side of the coin you're leaning towards more. And I will share my idea after we do the activity. So the first one is basically going to be to grab a, pen or marker, whatever they have access to draw. And you're basically going to ask them to draw a weather symbol to describe how they're feeling. So you can do this. You can lower your microphone and turn the music up and just give them like a minute or 2 minutes to think about how they're feeling. So recently, I've been saying, like, I want you to think about how you're feeling with your health and think about if you're tired or not. It depends obviously on the age of your students as well, and think about your experience in online learning. And now that you understand your feeling, relate it to, for example, a weather symbol. So shout out to Isabella, that was her idea. And then you would basically draw your weather symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and use my iPad to do that, but you can absolutely ask your students, because you want to blend the learning, and they have a lot of screen time right now. So I usually do this, and when I train teachers at my school, I use paper to do that as well. So just give them a 30 seconds. So I'm going to lower my volume so you can listen to music. And I'd love you guys to draw that out and maybe tag it on Twitter as Online Learning Engagement, and of course GEGMN, and then I will be able to celebrate and share that with you guys. So we're going to practice this 30 seconds just listening to music. Go. To remember to turn the volume up. Okay, I think we may have been over 30 seconds, but are you guys ready? Okay, so I'm going to share my symbol. my weather symbol with you guys that I drew on my iPad. Are you ready? And obviously you can't show me mine, but this is what you can say to your students. So here's my weather symbol, and I often like put my face to the side, so then I would ask students who would like to unmute their microphone and share why they picked this weather symbol and why they're feeling that way. And you'd be surprised. It maybe people won't, your students won't already necessarily participate at first, but it'll just take that one brave student, and then others will be encouraged. Something else that I found works really well is that if you actually let them hide behind the camera, because some students are behind their work. So for example, if it is a piece of paper, you can actually do this and tell them, hey guys, go ahead and hold your work up to your camera, and you don't have to show your face. So if you're worried that your students are going to be feeling like, I just realized my green screen was in the way there. So if they're feeling like shy or they don't want to, okay, Dina, I'll fix the Jamboard. Just 1 second. If they're feeling like they didn't want to show their face, then what you could do is actually, yeah, you're right, Dina, it was set to view. Thanks for letting me know. So here we go with the edit access for the Jamboard. There you go, guys. Just give it a little refresh and you'll be able to share your ideas on the Jamboard. Looking forward to seeing those. Cool. So yeah, let your students warm into it. So I know that right now there are a lot of students that are probably not sharing their camera and not feeling like they want to actually participate in the lessons. So you have to do it bit by bit. If you're in that stage where they're not really engaged, then just tell them. If you see that students are not releasing their camera during the lesson and are not doing that, then tell them things like that. Hey, you guys can hide behind your work. You don't have to show your face. Little by little, you'll see faces come around the side like this or on the top like this, and it's super, super fun. So don't don't worry right away when your students don't want to engage at the very first. It's like step by step. It's new for them. Maybe they're sleepy, maybe they didn't quite wake up, maybe for whatever reason. And I know that there's a lot of studies that are coming out as well. There's a lot of articles that I read that talk about a lot of different reasons as well related to safety and safeguarding as reasons they wouldn't want to release their camera. So I know nobody's actually shared that in the chat, but I definitely would recommend to give students the choice and the option, and if they don't want to share their camera, that is okay. But these little activities, like asking them to doodle something meaningful related to their well-being, is definitely going to get them interested to chat with you. It could also be a case of students wanting to it doesn't have to necessarily be weather symbols. It could be pick your favorite color of how you're feeling today, and they can draw something in that color, or maybe they just want to paint the paper in a certain color. It could be that you ask them that if they don't want to draw, that they could grab an object to describe how they're feeling. So these are really good for well-being check-ins and checkouts. So shout out to Isabella, who inspired all of us to get that started. The other one that's in there is Blended Learning for Littles by Ben Cogswell. He is basically a superstar of blended learning with younger students, like really younger students. I know I just did like that. That's not obviously accurate sizing. So little students, younger students. And brilliant. So please take a look at that, talking about the importance of blending and getting off the screen, doing things with tangibles around them, and really just having fun, dressing up with them, getting them involved, using dried noodles, for example. And a lot of those things I've been doing also. Previously, like when we were in lockdown back in February. So yeah, there's loads of things you can do just to get students using a different tool so that they're not always stuck on their laptops and their computers. Okay, are you guys ready? Here we go with the next activity. I'm very excited about this one. So if you guys can go ahead, we are going to use the Wheel of Names. I actually did this with my high school students this week, and it was so much fun. I think it was, I was working with, there we go. Okay, so Dina's in the chat. I'm going to call out Dina's name, and we have Ahmed there as well. And if there is anybody else who is joining us in the chat, feel free to drop your name. And basically what you can do is you can do this as a random name picker for groups. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide this window. And behind me are 4 different Google Docs. And people are often always saying to me, how can you see everything at once? So this, for example, is how I have set up my computer screen so that I'm actually able to watch students collaborating offline. So students don't always have to stay inside the Google Meet for the length of the lesson. And it's really, really good practice to chunk your lessons into short 5-minute pieces. Maybe if the students are older, you might get away with increasing that up to 10 minutes if you're doing heavy content, but you really want to have any pre-record videos in small chunks. What you can then do is you can give them a collaborative space, and obviously breakout rooms are coming for G Suite Enterprise for Education. And so if your school has signed up for that, then those are definitely coming. And then actually, I think I saw some schools have started to receive that already. So you could be, if you're joining from another part of the world, already in breakout rooms, and so you can definitely do that where they're in the Google Meet. If you just want to give them a break from Google Meets, though, you can absolutely have them work in offline spaces like this where they're actually inside of a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or a Jamboard, and you can actually watch them work all together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spin the wheel. So let me just actually show that here again. So we have the wheel and we can click spin, and it's actually going to spin, and it will actually pick a student's name and it will celebrate them. So this is actually a recently new update in the last month. So it will land on somebody. So congratulations, Dina. And as you can see, it celebrates the student when they're picked. So as long as you're doing a Share Chrome tab into your Google Meet, then they'll be able to hear that celebration as well. And you can choose to remove that person's name, which we will do for this activity, or you can keep them in the mix and just keep spinning them. So Wheel of Names is also really awesome if you want students to be able to share and you'd like to randomly pick who's going to share next. Obviously, we don't use this in every lesson, but it is a great tool to just shake it up and do something a little different. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide this screen and I'm going to go up here to my Google Doc. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write here Team 1, and I'm going to add the names as I go in the session. So let's say, for example, that was Dina, and then we had also Ahmed. So on Team 2, I could add Ahmed's name there. And then what I'm going to do for today's activity is I'm going to drop the links for these inside of the YouTube chat so you can access them. So Dina, if you'd like to go ahead and hop on to, yeah, the confetti cannon, super cool. If you want to hop on to Google Doc number 1, and then if Ahmed is still joining us, I'm going to grab the link for Google Doc number 2. And I'm just going to change that to edit access so that you guys can edit that. And there we go. So this is link number 2. So Ahmed, if you're still there, feel free to hop on Google Doc number 2. And then there's an anonymous Lima. I'm just going to check. Yep, have edit access. So then as you can see behind me, I can see who is in my Google Doc. Now, obviously for today's Techie Tip Tuesday session, I'm not able to see who's actually in the Google Doc because actually this is outside of my trainer domain. And so when you guys join, you join as these awesome anonymous animals. However, if you have joined my domain before, there we go, the anonymous Nyan Cat, then you will be able to see your students. So like when I do this lesson, I'm actually able to see them. So if you want to be able to see your screen like this, you literally just need to take the tab that is in the browser and you need to pull your tab down, and then you're going to actually move it to the side. And you just resize each of your windows so that you can see everybody at the same time. So Dina, go ahead and let me know in the chat what you are having for dinner or what you have had for dinner. And think about a question that you could ask one of our friends at GEGMN about what they are going to be eating or drinking later in the day. So let me know. So you can see Dina's typing ahead, and I'm actually able to see that she's typing. So as an educator, We don't need to be in a Google Meet. As long as you have set up your collaborative spaces, then your students can join those spaces and you can still see that they're all collaborating and you can actually give feedback. So what you can do here is I can then say to Dina, and I can use the add comment button, and I'm just going to shrink the window so you guys can see me add that comment. So hi Dina, thank you for your effort. Can you tell me about what you're eating for dinner? For example, and then you can click comment, and then Dina's seeing that live. Other tips and tricks that you could do is you could actually list the names of the students in your class at the top, which is what I like to do instead of using the comment feature. I usually use the comment feature at the end of the lesson or when I'm giving feedback later on, because sometimes students aren't able to join synchronously at the same time, whether it's online or offline. So you also want to give space for your students to be able to complete their activities later on. So what you could do there, I'll just make that screen a little bigger again, is you can absolutely, Dina says she's going to be eating traditional Egyptian kofta. That's so cool. I had molokhia for dinner today. So if you are joining in the chat, let us know, or you can let us know on one of these Google Docs what you're having for dinner. So exciting. It's not every day we have Egyptian treats up here in Jordan, so it was quite delicious. So what you guys can do up here is you can ask people to list their name like Dina's done here. And I'm just going to delete my comment so that it doesn't look like it's yellow anymore and highlighted with a comment. So I'm going to resolve it. There we go. And now I'm going to add my name, which is Mrs. Dean, to the students, but I'll go ahead and write Georgina. And then you just tell students who are working in that group to list their name as a color so that when they're collaborating in the Google Doc, they're collaborating as a different color. So go ahead, Dina, and pick a color. If that's okay, and me too. And you can even encourage them to use highlighters. So for example, I'll highlight mine blue and then I'll use gray like that. So when I type, this is what I'm going to be. So you can watch your students collaborate together. So then I will go down here and I will copy this, for example, and I'll put I had molokhia for dinner tonight. So now we can clearly see that Dina has written her text in black and that Georgina has written her text in highlighted blue. And so at a quick glance, you can see who is doing what and who has commented what without actually having to go into the version history of your Google Doc to see who has done what. So it really allows you to work very productively live in the documents at a glance to see all your students working at the same time, to give them feedback. That's awesome. So somebody's in doc number 2. So this is a perfect example there. So guys, the next question I'm going to ask you is, what are you drinking now, or what will you be drinking soon? So I have with me my berry tea. Yeah, it is a green berry tea. So let me know on your collaborative document what you're drinking, sorry. So as you can see, when you do this in class with your students, you're obviously going to relate this to either a learning objective, or maybe it's a check-in or checkout, and you're relating this to their well-being or wellness. And so whatever is the case, you definitely want to make sure that you've listed your questions inside your Google Classroom assignment. So now what I can do is I'm going to go back to the Google Doc. The Anonymous Rabbit says, great ways to interact with online classes. Yeah, it's super fun. Yay. It's very exciting to see you guys work at the same time. And then you can go in. I had one student, when I first started using this approach, actually writes in the Google Doc and say, Miss Dean, are you really there? Can you actually see me? Because they can see that my avatar, my Google avatar, is in the document. And so they typed, because we weren't in a Google Meet, and they were saying, can you actually see us? So the answer is yes. And you want to be open with your students and let them know that you are going to be in the Google Docs or the Sheets, whatever you're using, or the Jamboard, and that you're going to be helping them. So it's all about how we reimagine the spaces that our students are collaborating and creating in. And online learning is not necessarily about building a mass amount of different ed tech tools to use. My personal advice as an ed tech leader who's also doing some teaching right now in online learning is to take the tools that you have and deep dive into them and leverage what you have in creative, new, and innovative ways. So this is a simple way to use Google Docs with people. And so I can go there, I can highlight different things now, I can add a comment to reply directly to that student, or I can write underneath in my same color, and I can go here and I can write here, so great that you're using collaborative Google Docs in that way. Way to go. And so again, this could be related to your lesson objectives for your curriculum, whatever it is that you're doing. But as you can see, it's a really nice way for you to be able to give live feedback. And that also therefore makes it really efficient for you as an educator, if you're an educator, and it cuts down on your marking time. So instead of waiting until the lesson's over to go into an assignment and give them that feedback, you can actually do it directly live in the Google Doc. So this is my big tip for you guys. And then the next thing that I want to say is you can use also cool things like Google Drawings. So I have here set up already 2 different Google Drawings, and I have, there we go, already created the links. So I'm going to ask both Ahmed and Dina to join Google Drawing number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and join Google Drawing number 2. And as you can see from the Google Drawings that I've created, I've already named them Team 1 and 2. So it's a great way for you then to take your groups and collapse them into larger groups, but less number of groups. So now we have 2 Google Drawings. And what you could do is you could get your students to recreate their Google avatar image. So this is a really fun starter or a plenary you can do at the beginnings or ends of lessons, and you can have them work in teams. So you could do this as pairs, for example, or small groups. And so based on the number of viewers that are watching, please feel free to all join in the Google Doc to work together. And so what you would say to your students is, okay, Miss Dean's going to be in these documents with you, and I'm going to be watching to see which team has the best collaborative skills, or which was the most inclusive group. And so it's not always about building it's obviously building skills, that's definitely part of it, but it's not the only thing that's important in education. So educators that are out there, you guys know that it's really, really important that we're building the 6 C's, right? The critical thinking, the collaboration, the creativity, etc. So we need to make sure that when we are assigning creative tasks to our students, that we're being really clear and explicit in what we're asking of them. So if you would like them to focus, for this week or this lesson, or maybe you have a theme for one of the 6 C's for each different term of the school year, so then you say, this is what I'm going to be looking for. You may have a reward system in your school, you may have different ways of doing it. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you provide them with positive feedback. So what you can do in the Google Drawings is ask to be collaborative. So the task for now, we're going to try and do this together, and I'm going to mute my microphone so we can work. And again, we'll just listen to the music while we're creating. So I'm going to go ahead and say who can create a mascot for this lesson, or you can say mascot for your Google avatar, and so you can have fun with your googly mascot. So we'll go ahead, and it's a collaborative place. So you can use, for example, shapes, and you can draw different shapes in Google Drawings for those of you who are new to Google Drawings. So I'll go ahead and make that green. And then you can create a different mascot. So it's a great little infographic, easy to use for your students. So I see that I have a partner in the Google Drawing, so feel free to join me. And if you are just joining in to the GEG Aman session, then feel free to grab the link and join us. We need to make a collaborative mascot together. And so how are we using our skills to work together in this Google Doc? So let's see if we can do it. I'll also add a body for my mascot here. And let me know, guys, in the chat. I know that I gave you guys the Jamboard. I see that there's a few people that have accessed the Jamboard. And so if you are in the Jamboard, make sure that you're also sharing your top tips for online learning engagement. And we're going to keep this going. Thank you to those who have already added some sticky notes. So feel free to add those as well. I'm going to loop back at the end of today's episode to check on that. And I'd love to keep this going actually so that we can continue to build the list together until the following Tip Tuesday. So would love for you guys to join in. So yeah, let's create. I'm going to mute my microphone. Yay, we have a triangle. So somebody's added the triangle. Now, I'm going to, that's so cool. So I'm going to mute my microphone. You guys can listen to the music, and this is what you can say. So you can give your students the option. You may say, if this is the start of a lesson, for example, okay, let's do this together while we're inside the Google Meet. So then as a teacher, you can absolutely just mute your microphone, keep the music playing. If you have a second device and you don't have this fancy setup that I'm currently using to do this session with you guys today, then I often, because I don't use this setup for my lessons, by the way, I use my iPad and I have my playlist playing on my iPad while I'm doing my Google Meet lesson so that the sound is going through the microphone. So it's just about what you have access to and how you can set it up. So I'll go ahead and mute myself, and let's keep creating together for, let's give it another minute or two and see what we can create together. Okay, here we go. Okay, I couldn't help myself. I'm unmuting my microphone because I'm very excited now about our little mascot. And I saw that we have another friend joining. Oh, yay, that's so much fun. I'm so excited now. Okay, cool. So please, yeah, join in the Google Drawing and help us create our wonderful mascot. There's 3 users now. I'm very excited. And if we had more viewers, obviously you can keep this going and you can see who's going to have the best one. So actually in Google Meet, okay, in Google Meet, there is an option when you share your screen to share your entire screen. So you do have the ability to have this set up as a share screen inside your Google Meet so that the other students can see each other's creations as they're going. So there's always like pros and cons for doing both, right? Share your screen and show the work, or not share the screen and not show the work. And you can mix it up. It doesn't have to be the same each time either. But please go ahead. I saw some more users join. We would love for you guys to help us complete the mascot. So please do stay and join us. So someone's added a crown. I added some eyes. I saw a really cool smiley face in there. So please feel free. I'll mute my microphone for another minute and we'll try and wrap up within the hour so you guys can have fun with that. Okay, here we go. Oh, I have a good one. Okay, guys, that was brilliant. In fact, epic. So I'd like to thank all the viewers who joined to help us create our GEG Aman mascot. I'm going to click File and download as a PNG and share that out on social. So if you were one of the awesome GEG Man players who joined the session and helped create that, then please let me know in the chat. Oh, yay! I love that. I love that. Wonderful. I'm going to let you guys keep creating then. I'll re-download the PNG at the end. So feel free to keep going. I love it. So cool. Okay. So I think you guys are starting to get the idea about how you can create spaces so that your students can share together. So let me know if there's questions about this setup at all. But again, as I said, you're just opening the tabs, pulling them out of the window and resizing them so that they all fit together. I probably wouldn't recommend having more than 4, but you absolutely can. I also know some education leaders who actually have multiple Google Meet rooms open at the same time and do a similar kind of idea so that they can see their students and collaborate with them. Just be careful with your bandwidth though with Google Meet, because obviously each Google Meet that you will have is like a video conference, right? So it takes up stream. So just be careful with that. Okay, so let's finish up here. Those are some couple little tricks that I wanted to share with you guys about using your collaborative spaces. So really, really important there. So let me go ahead and now reveal. I'll come back to see if there were any final changes to the mascot, by the way. I wanted to loop back here to the Jamboard and share some of the awesome ideas from our wonderful Googlers that have shared. So I'm just going to make these a little bigger so that we can see in the video, and then I can always shrink them again after. Awesome. Okay, so somebody shared that they use iPads in class for the first time this term with year 3 students, and they were so excited. That is super awesome. And they played a quizzes game. That is absolutely brilliant. Quizzes is a phenomenal way to gamify and engage your students in learning. So I love that to pieces. And there's some more sticky notes coming in. Just feel free to make those nice and big so we can see them on screen, guys. Somebody says that they had a cover teacher, so that's someone who's taking over for another teacher for a cover period or a day. Taught students how to log into Google Classroom on the iPads, did a little bit of googly research, love that, and accessed hyperlinks using Jamboard for the first time. Who doesn't love Jamboard, right? Check this out, guys. Don't forget about the background. I feel like a lot of people often forget you can change the background color. See that? And in case you're wondering, on this page here, this background that I have created in this Jamboard is actually just an image. So just remember, you can also click on add image and you can go to the Google image search and you can type in, for example, celebrate, and it will pull up all kinds of royalty-free images that you could use to celebrate. So I'm going to go ahead, I really like that one, and I'm going to click select, and it's going to import that image onto my background. Now I'm going to click on Command X or Control X if you're on a Windows device, and I'm going to click Command V or Control V here to paste that, and you can layer this by ordering it to the back. And now you have this really awesome background. So don't forget, I feel like images are a little sometimes underused. Maybe not for everybody, but from what I've seen so far across the community. So don't be timid, like be bold, be brave, and try out new ways to create engagement with your students. But don't be afraid to get them to create too. So just like I've given you guys access to all of the tools we're working in today, please feel free to give your students the same risks. I know sometimes as educators, this was probably me on my first day of teaching in my first year, you want to have everything perfect and you want to be in control and you want to help the lesson go well and the students achieve well. But as soon as you start to peel away the control and give the students agency and ownership of the lesson so they feel like they're owning their learning, you are going to have so many rewards from that lesson. So don't be afraid to let them create. And it's all about the culture that you set up in your classroom, right? So remind them, guys, remember that the online learning space is just like the physical classroom in the sense that we want to respect each other's property. So if you've taken a Jam slide, make sure that you write your name on it. For example, in Jamboard, there's no speaker notes like in Google Slides. So I often ask my students to go ahead and list their name on a sticky note. Now, you could also be using Jamboard for anonymous activities. So don't obviously drop your name if it's an anonymous activity. Otherwise, they can list their name that way. If it's in the Google Slides, then I always tell students, right, if you're going to, please grab your own Google slide, because we change up the tool that we're using, which is another tip I have, in which case then you would ask them to write their name in the speaker notes of the slide so that everybody knows that whose slide it is. Of course, you can do something similar like the sticky notes, and you can use the shape icon in Google Slides as well to do the same thing. And then they can write in the center, Mrs. Dean's slide, for example. Awesome. So those are a couple little tips and tricks for you guys. So again, the whole idea behind today's lesson is how can we reimagine our creative spaces using our Googly tools. So as you can see, today we leveraged Google Jamboard, Google Slides, Google Docs, and Google Drawings. And you could absolutely use another one, which is where all of these are housed, which is in our lovely Google Classroom. So as you can see here, this is the lesson that I posted with all of the materials there ready to go. So we've leveraged 5 Google applications. I was about to call it G Suite, but that's also recently been rebranded to Google Workspace. So we've leveraged 5 Google tools. That's definitely safe. And in very easy ways. It didn't take hardly any time to set up. I just opened the new documents, renamed them, changed the share settings. Now, a couple last tidbits before we let you guys go for the day. Please, please, please remember, if you don't want your students to be creating in these spaces after you've finished the lesson, so obviously you want to think about keeping them open for a certain amount of time so that your students who are learning asynchronously with you can still input and have a voice in the activity. It's really, really important. So I never have my due date in the same day. It's usually a day or two later, or maybe even the end of the week, depending on what the activity is or if it's part of a project that we are currently working on. I do a lot of project-based learning in my class. So my tip is, whenever that time is finished, you can set yourself a Google Task reminder as a teacher, or you can set yourself a Google Calendar reminder to go into your Google app. So I'm just going to hide that again. There we go. To go into your Google app, I'll use this drawing on the top right. And just make sure that whoever was an editor in the Google Classroom, so this one is saying teachers because none of you are students in that Google Classroom, but in your own lesson, you would see their like GEGMN Jordan students. And so you would take your students and you would do this and make them viewer only. When you make them viewer only and click save, it means that they won't be able to edit the document. Now, obviously, because this is a GEGMN Tip Tuesday training session, I have it set to anyone with the link can edit, but you would also want to make sure that that stays within your school domain. So that's the school space, which would be the name of your school basically, or you can even restrict it because it'll be housed in the classroom and will take ownership from the users that are in that Google Classroom. So just make sure that your settings are set accordingly. So we'll set that to view, and then I'll click done. And now my students will be able to see the work because remember, it is in our Google Classroom. So they're going to be able to scroll down here and they can still click on it and they can still open it and they can still see whatever's been created. I clicked on the 3 and 4. There we go. They can still see what's been created, but they're not actually going to be able to edit it because I've changed the access to view. So it's how we think about what we would like our students to create in a space. And how do we envision that? Do we see that live in the Google Meet together in an online synchronous lesson for a few minutes, or do you see it as we're going to meet, we're going to do a thumbs up, thumbs down check-in, we're going to do the weather symbol check-in, and then we're going to share the activity in classroom and move offline to do this activity? So you have a lot of different choices there. Ahmed's asking about locking the images that we import into the Jamboard. Really good question, Ahmed. So let me pull up the Jamboard again. And in this Jamboard, okay, so in the Jamboard, the options that you have to work with the Jamboard is you can take an image and you have 3 dots at the top right. You can duplicate the image, so that'll give you a second copy of the image. Or you can delete the image, or you can order it. So you can bring it to the front so that it's on top of the sticky notes, or you can send it to the back so that it's behind the sticky notes. So to answer your question, Ahmed, which is a really good question, you cannot lock anything on the Jamboard. The whole idea, and actually, I don't quote me on that because I'm not a Jamboard developer for Google, but my understanding of Jamboard is the fluidity and the flexibility and the agility that our students and educators have to create in that space. So I do see this as something that should be able to move. I know that often, a lot of the times, educators will say, oh, but this student removed this, and etc. It's all down to your classroom culture. So if you've set up a culture where your students respect the space and are not going to delete sticky notes or images from their peers, then they're going to respect that space. And it may take a little while for you to build that culture up, and that is a-okay. But Jamboard, FYI, that's another tip for you guys. Jamboard is a great way for you to build classroom etiquette or guidelines or class rules, whatever you call them, on a Jamboard together. So instead of the teacher giving out the guidelines and saying, right, you need to do X, Y, Z every day, and these are my expectations, ask students and involve them. Involve them and say, how do you think we should be treating each other online? How do you think we should be acting inside the space? And ask them and get them to use the Jamboard to fill in sticky notes or use the text box and shapes, etc., to give you their ideas. So the more that they feel empowered and that they are a part of the classroom culture that you are asking them to participate in, then the more they'll want to respect those guidelines. So those are a few tips from myself. Just to also cover the other sticky notes, Ahmed says he uses Jamboard and Kahoot to engage students. Kahoot is very popular for sure. Awesome tools. And also have used the chat quite a bit to engage all learners, even the quiet ones. I totally agree. So whoever wrote that one, making sure that everybody feels valued and that they have voice, is a brilliant thing. Some people were asking me, well, what about the chat? Etc. What you could do now, just in case anybody didn't know, the Google Chat, every time you record your Google Meet, is also recorded. So you have to make sure you let your students know that. We do recommend, or I recommend, I should say, that teachers are recording all of their Google Meets for safeguarding, and then those are obviously stored in your drive and they can be shared with your line manager or your safeguarding lead for safety for yourself as an educator and for the students. And when the Google Meet is recorded, the chat of the Google Meet is also recorded, and you will get a Google Doc separated by the video recording in a single email, so you'll have access to everything there. And yeah, so the Google Chat is a brilliant space. I've also seen an educator this week say, use their numbers, and then students can type like 1, 2, 3 to answer questions instead of having to type everything out. Because remember, some of our students are not joining with their device. I know that's not necessarily happening in the Middle East since we don't have the Google Voice piece. You can't dial into a Google Meet down here, but it is happening in other parts of the world. And I have personally experienced that some students have devices where their microphone or their keyboard is not working, and so they may be inhibited to talk, or they may not be able to type, and so we need to be flexible in our approach. So I always like to say, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or in the middle, or write in the chat yes or no, or write in the chat with a number. And so you can have different strategies to make sure everybody is included in your in the conversation, basically. So yeah, I see the Google drawing is still happening. So people are still trying to build that. That's awesome. Oh, Shannon's joining. Hi, Shannon. Nice to see you. Shannon is joining. Well, I'll let her share where she's joining from. We're just actually about to wrap up. We went a whole hour, but I hope it was helpful, that it's given you guys some tips and tricks. Shannon, we'd love for you to join in that chat. So let me give you the Jamboard link here. If you'd like to share any strategies that have been working really well for you in engaging your students online, then please feel free to share them there. We have basically been working in collaborative spaces. And so having this idea where students can work offline synchronously during a lesson together without having the stress or the whatever it is you want to call it, of being in the Google Meet nonstop, or the Zoom, or whatever you're using for video conferencing with your students nonstop. And so it's a great way to be able to say, okay, catch you in the Google Drawing or catch you in the Google Doc, and then say, right, we're going to meet at the end of the lesson for 5 minutes to do a gallery walk and to celebrate and share together. So there's just so many ideas, and I feel like I could actually talk for hours, which is not good. So we'll try and wrap this up quickly, but hopefully this has given you guys some ideas. The bow tie is super cool, right? And it wasn't me that added it. It is our lovely Googlers who are joining in the session today. I'm so grateful for everybody who came in to help us to create our lovely GEGMN mascot. And so you don't have to create a mascot every day. You don't have to use a Jamboard every day. But my biggest tip, and I think I iterated this with Shannon on the call last week, is to have a toolkit. And I like to say the big five. So have your big five, you're carrying your toolkit virtually, and you're using your toolkit, and you just rotate through them every day. So one day it could be you're working in a Jamboard, and then the next day it could be you're working in a Google Drawing, and then the third day you're having them create and collaborate in a Google Doc. It doesn't have to be the same app every day, and it doesn't need to be a new app every day. It does not need to be a new app every week. Your students just need to feel just like you do. Well, maybe some of us, like Georgina in my old age, are drinking the same things every day: berry, green tea, and black coffee for breakfast. But when we're learning professionally, and when our students are learning, they just want to, shake it up a little bit and give them a little bit of variety. And it doesn't take, as you can see, a lot. You can just have your main few apps that you're using, and you can just shake it up a little bit that way. Okay, so let's see if there are Shannon's added some tips. Shannon says hers was the orange Post-it. Oh, so Shannon, you have been on here for a while. Okay, that's super cool. Awesome. Thank you for the tip. And that's brilliant. Shannon says you can put a transparent square shape over the whole thing so they won't be able to move the images, which is a little trick. Awesome, Shannon. Thank you for sharing that. Is that in your answer to Ahmed? Yes, in the Jamboard. That is correct. So you could take exactly like what Shannon said here. You can take a square, for example, and you can draw that shape over, and you can just make it bigger, and you can make it like this. This is what I do in my Google Slides, but it's awesome, Shannon, because I didn't think to do that in Jamboard. Way to go. Way to make it a team effort. And then Shannon says, take this object, which is your shape, and choose the color and make it transparent. Yeah, so then they won't be able to. Now, obviously, they'll be able to move the transparent shape, but it gives it one extra layer of protection just in case. So you could make that really big. Well, so big. There you go. And then it would be harder for them to do that. So great tip there, Shannon. Thanks for sharing. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to leave that open, and in case anybody would like to add some more items to the engagement, then please feel free. And I am totally, as soon as this finishes, going to be tweeting our wonderful GEGMN mascot that we collaborated together. So if you have helped out in building our mascot, he needs a name, or she needs a name. It needs a name. Feels super weird to say. The mascot needs a name. There we go. So please, when I tweet it out, or you can drop some ideas in the YouTube chat, we need to give our lovely, I want to call him Googly, but I can't take Googly. It's not Georgina's. So Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Would love some help and with the name of our mascot. So yeah, just change it up. Pick different things every day to do with your students, and we will close up on this on our agenda for today. And just want to make sure I covered everything. Yeah, so guys, take a look. There's Online Engagement by Isabella, and then Al did a hacks for improving remote presenting. So it's how you can present well, and video, and. So take a look there. And then there's also this super awesome article that I shared with my staff this week on keeping students engaged in digital learning from Edutopia. So our wonderful friends from Edutopia, there's also a video in there. This one is from April, but when I read it before I shared it, there's actually loads of really good things in there. So I'll let you guys watch that video by yourselves. There's also studies there as well, and how we can adapt different lessons for online learning. So you can see how students are taking, oh, I just realized you cannot see what I was just showing you. There we go. Sorry, guys. And so yeah, here inside the Google Slides, sorry, I just realized when I looked down at my stream that it was still on the mascot. So here I'm in point number 2 on the agenda, and it takes you to the article, and it just goes to show you how creative students can be if you just give them the chance, just give them the time. When you ask students a question, and there's that uncomfortable silence period. I actually learned this from Mei Ju, who's the trainer program owner. I don't remember which event she had shared it in. But yeah, shout out to her. This was from her. She just said, I just wait an extra like 5 or 10 seconds. It's uncomfortable. So if you have music playing in the background, that definitely will help. She said, but just give that extra time so that the learners or the participants, if your students are your colleagues, if you're an instructional coach, will actually want to take the risk. They'll be like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? And if you just wait, someone will more than likely speak up. So time is also a really big tip for me. And then just using whatever they have. So you can see there that that student is using recycled jars and bottles at home to practice his science lesson. Excuse me. So you can do the same thing with maths. You could absolutely get your jelly beans or your dried noodles, or I'm looking at a bunch of candles that I have for well-being, since I'm a big candles person, and so I have my candles. You could line those up. Obviously, our younger learners wouldn't have access to candles for safety, but I think you guys get the point. So pick different things, encourage them. Obviously, safety first, and make sure you say, if the learners are young, to make sure to check with mom and dad first. The worst thing you would ever want is for mom and dad to come into a space and there's like crayon and marker all over the nice white wall. That would be an interesting conversation that hopefully none of us will ever have to go through. So whatever you encourage your students to use for their learning, just make sure that they are having the permission of mom and dad, and that everything is obviously safe for them. So there is loads of goodies in there, and don't forget the links to the audio free library, so you can use those if you like the music that's playing behind me, or under me I should say, or in the background. Then you can absolutely get music from here, and you can also get music from the other link that I shared as well. Okay guys, so we are about to wrap up, and I just want to see if there's any questions about anything that we shared here today with you guys. Please let me know in the chat. Dina says, or lipstick. Absolutely. Nobody wants to have lipstick on the walls. I don't think I own lipstick, but I do own Blistex for dried lips, because 1,000 meters above sea level here in Jordan means that it is super dry right now. I remember when I moved here last summer, this month in October and also November, my skin was super dry. So I have a lot of moisturizing things now and keep my lips dry. So yeah, but no lipstick. Cool. So if there's not any questions, then we will go ahead. You're welcome, Dina. That's my pleasure. This has been really fun. So thank you to everybody who, oh, we need to show the mascot again. There's been some new additions, guys. Stay tuned. Hold on. 1 second. I got to find the right window to hide. Hold on. There we go. I think I moved my windows in the wrong space. Anyway, we can see the googly mascot now. Oh, guys, I've rotated my windows around. That's not so great, but I'm going to see if I can move him down a little bit. Yeah, no, not going to work, guys. Underneath the googly mascot is a little keyboard. It was super adorable, so I'm really, really excited. And there's also the letter G under there for Google, possibly from Google Workspace. So I'm also really excited about that. Thanks to everybody who joined, Ahmed, Dina, Shannon, and the others that I can see in the Google apps. And so thank you for collaborating with us today on online learning engagement. Please do join us next Tuesday. So every Tuesday we'll have a show. It will be either, I say either, and I need to get my times right next week. It's either going to be 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. I'm just playing with the times in these weeks to see when people can join us better. So please drop me a note in the chat or message us at GEGMN to let us know if 7 p.m. this time. So Dina, I think that when we started it was 7 p.m. your time. Or 6 p.m. Oh, wow. Time zones are not going well for Georgina. Anyway, so let us know in the chat if this time that we started today worked well. And if not, later or earlier time, and we can try to arrange a different time that works well for everybody on Tuesday evening. And next Tuesday is Tip Tuesday together. So we will be joined by another guest talking about strategies to help our community members in the current new normal situation. So we had Shannon last week, so shout out to her, who shared tons of important things for online learning last week, and we look forward. And if you would like to be a guest on GEGMN, then please just let us know. If you'd love to come on here and share your strategies and share your story with us and with the audience, we would love to have you guys. Georgina is always happy to get off the stage and let other Googlers come and share. So please just reach out to me at AmanGEG on Twitter or at TechieLeaderEDU. If you'd like to message my personal account, you're welcome. And let me know. And we'd love to have you guys on the show with us. So yeah. All right. Ahmed said it's 10:30 p.m. Ah, yes, the Maldives is 2 hours ahead. I keep forgetting. So hopefully this worked well, or is it a little bit late? I think it's going to be hard for me to find a time that suits everybody, but I was finding in the last few weeks that the 6 p.m. in my time zone was a little early for everybody. So I'm just wondering if this time works well, then maybe we start an hour later for next week as well. And don't forget, end of the month is coming up in a couple of weeks. So our, oh, and that reminds me, I'll have to come up with a new name for that now as well, because it's no longer, it was G Sweet Treats from Jordan, and now it has to be something else. So we'll figure that out. But we will have something for you guys every week. So stay tuned on our Facebook or our Twitter. And if you'd like to connect with us, guys, you know what to do. Just click in the Google Classroom link to find this slide deck, or click on the GEGMN logo in the Google slide deck to find our registration form if you'd love to join our community. We're always excited to learn together with others. And if you have any friends or colleagues in other parts of the world or locally, please feel free to share this out with them if they would like to join GEGMN as well. Awesome. Great. So Dina says, couldn't do earlier, but this is working well. Okay, so let's try and keep it 7 p.m. my time for next week then, if this time works well. And yeah, we're excited to see everybody there. So guys, that's it for me today. I want to thank you guys for joining again. Stay safe. Thank you for everything you're doing in education, for your educators, for your students, and for your parent community. It is not an easy time out there right now, and everybody knows it. So everything you guys are doing to be here and to learn new tricks and to share with your colleagues back at your school community is really, really appreciated. So thank you, and stay safe. Take care, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Bye for now.